Good afternoon, boys and girls, and this is today's learning objective in maths. Please read it with your parents. And the learning objective is, can I tell the time to the hour and half hour? So a message to the parents out there, the national curriculum objective with respect to time for year one is that the children need to tell the time to the hour and half past the hour. So at the end of year one, children need to be able to read this time, for example, as 8 o'clock. And this time, for example, as half past 8. That's what they need to be secure on leaving year one. Those o'clock times and those half past times. And if you look here, you'll see these toy clocks. And we have many of these toy clocks in school to use as a learning resource. You may not have them at home. But what I'm sure you all have is you've got your own wall clocks that perhaps you could use to teach your children these times. Just pop out the battery and the children can practice showing those o'clock times and those half past times. Later on in the video too, I'll show you some examples on how you can use some interactive online clocks to teach these times. First and foremost, mums and dads, you'll have to teach your children o'clock times. And you'll need to use a clock of this style. And the children will need to know that this clock is called an analog clock because it's got moving hands. And it's got hours numbered from 1 to 12. You'll have to teach them, mums and dads, that the minute hand is the long hand, and the minute hand needs to be pointing to 12 for an o'clock time to be present. And then the short hand, known as the hour hand, needs to be pointing to the relevant hour. So mums and dads out there, with whatever clocks you have at your disposal at home, I'd like if you could please teach your children how to read o'clock times. For example, that's 3 o'clock. Teach them 4, 5, and so on and so forth. So that's the first teaching point. Also, mums and dads, if you don't have your own analog clock at home, there are a host of different online interactive clocks available on the internet. I'll post a link to this one. So you can also use interactive clocks like this to help teach your child the time. And remember, we're focusing on o'clock and half past. So for example, you could get your child to read that time and get your child to note that the blue minute hand is pointing at 12. So it must be an o'clock time. The red hour hand is pointing at 9, hence it's 9 o'clock. So again, you can use interactive clocks like this. Oh, you could also just impress upon your children the direction in which both the minute and the hour hand move. And you can just reiterate that this direction is known as clockwise. Now, mums and dads, as already stated, all the children need to be secure on for year one as regards to telling the time are the o'clock times and the half past times. So for this half past time here, you could just impress upon your child how the minute hand has traveled halfway around the clock. So it's now pointing at 6. So it's covered half of the clock. Hence the term half past. And the minute hand, I'll just put the label down here, is pointing at 6. And you could point out to your child how the hour hand will be between hours. So 7:30 will be between 7 and 8. Boys and girls, it's your first task. Now in your maths books, can you write down these 6 times? The first 3 times are going to be o'clock times. So you will have to write down the time using the word o'clock. So this is the first time. That is something o'clock. Number 2 in your math book is this time. Please write that time in your maths book. Now we're on to number 3. This time. Write it on your maths book, please. The next time is a half-past time. It's number 4. And number 4, it's not this time, but if this minute hand travels halfway around the clock and it's pointing at the 6, and the red hour hand is between 6 and 7, please write down the time, 1/2 something. Now on for number 5. Pretend it was 8 o'clock, and suddenly this minute hand travels halfway around the clock, and it's pointing at the number 6. That is 1/2 something, number 5. And finally, we're on to number 6. So time moves forward, it moves on, and it's now 12 o'clock. What time is it when the minute hand points at 6? Here. That's the last question. Write it into your maths book. So now you should have 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take a picture of your work. Upload it onto your portfolios, please. Boys and girls, this task is called Show Me Please. There are 6 yellow times scattered around this black screen. You need to show me these times. And you may ask yourself, how do I do that? It is simple. Use your clock at home. Show the time. Get your mom or dad to take a picture of you showing the time and upload it onto PicCollage. Do it for each of the times. So you should have, at the end, 6 pictures of 6 times. Then you can upload that PicCollage picture onto your Dojo portfolio. I'll show you an example next. Here's an example of how I might present Show Me Please. So we need 6 photographs of you holding the clock with the time in question. Please put the time underneath the picture. So we should have 6 times, 6 labels. If you can do that, boys and girls, you earn 1 dojo point. So Show Me Please is a dojo challenge. Good luck with that task. So mums and dads, thanks in advance for your support on this. Just to reiterate, today's lesson is all about o'clock and 1/2. In year 1, the kids need to be secure on that. So please, if you can drill these times, not only in today's lesson, but also in everyday life and incidentally throughout your day. If you can practice with your child reading the time, looking at clocks, it will be very, very useful. In subsequent lessons to this lesson, we'll be looking at some more thinking skills style questions and ways in which you can extend the children in terms of the time.